Hey there, fellow wanderers. I hope you're doing well. If you're new to my channel, welcome. And if you've been here before, I'm sending you a big virtual hug, as I always do, to welcome you back. I'm Becky, the slow traveling wanderer. As I prepare to leave to Mexico City tomorrow, yes, I'm flying to Mexico City tomorrow, with the goal of finding an apartment, I thought I'd leave you with one more Did You Know video. I'll be in Mexico City looking for an apartment and plan to upload a video on how my apartment search goes and whether I'm able to find something long-term. I'll keep you all informed. I'm also planning to put together a few real-time Mexico City videos since I'll be in CDMX for almost 6 weeks this time around. So wish me luck. Okay, in this installment of Did You Know, I want to talk about Mexico's incredibly powerful beer industry and its history. When moving or visiting a new country, learning more about it enriches your own experience as you interact with people, places, customs, food, and events all around you. Did you know that Mexico owes its technique and beer quality to Germany? Germans were the ones who not only invested capital that funded the very first brewery able to produce at an industrial scale, but also machinery, hops and barley, and talent had to be imported from Germany. And Germans, mostly, some Swiss and Austrians too, brought their technical know-how. They had to solve a variety of chemistry-related issues early on, having to do with the alkalinity of Mexican water, and even the challenge of the hot Mexican climate, which initially impacted beer taste, quality, and production. What a story, huh? All right, let's dive in. Before we do that, if you've seen my other videos, you might say, but Becky, I thought you were a wine drinker. Well, you're right. That's usually my drink of choice, but it's not because I don't like beer. Rather, I'm allergic to wheat, so I can't drink beer. However, every once in a while, I like to pop a Benadryl, head down to the local watering hole, and order the biggest Michelada I can find with a Pacifico or Modelo beer, of course. And if I want to keep it healthy, I'll ask for a Corona Light. It reminds me of that awesome Dos Equis ad campaign from a few years back. I don't always drink beer, but when I do, I prefer Dos Equis. I actually found a couple of clips for a good laugh. Check them out.
He is the life of parties he has never attended. If he were to punch you in the face, you would have to fight off the strong urge to thank him. Sharks have a week dedicated to him. He is the most interesting man in the world.
I don't always drink beer, but when I do, I prefer Dos Equis. Stay thirsty, my friends.
His fortune cookies simply read, "Congratulations." Skinny dipping was his idea. He can slam a revolving door. He is the most interesting man in the world.
I don't always drink beer, but when I do, I prefer Dos Equis. Stay thirsty, my friends.
All right, moving on. As I mentioned, Germany served as Mexico's teacher, but what makes this fact even more remarkable is that Mexico surpassed Germany in beer exports globally starting in 2017. Further, Germans who are incredibly particular about everything, let's be honest, are now importing substantially more Mexican beer into their country. In 2015, for example, Mexican beer imports into Germany grew by 82%. As of 2019, the latest data available, Mexico is now the #1 beer exporter in the world, with exports worth $4.2 billion US, or 27% of all global beer exports. That's a huge market share. The next competitor is the Netherlands, with $2.1 billion US in total beer exports, or half of Mexico's share. What an accomplishment. Viva Mexico, sí señor. The Mexican government has a page with a brief history of beer in Mexico, and it attributes the start of beer production to 1542, when Alfonso Herrera, an emissary for the conquistador Hernán Cortés, solicits Carlos V for permission to open a beer production establishment, which was located at the base of the two famous volcanoes near Mexico City, Popo and his girlfriend is what I call them. They have very difficult names, so I won't even try. Anyhow, the first brewery was established at the Hacienda El Portal in a town now known as Amecameca in Estado de Mexico, or the state of Mexico. However, this cervecería, or cervecera, both are correct, was only in production for 4 to 5 years and couldn't survive. It had minimal output, beer was very expensive to produce, and it didn't have other conditions necessary for survival. Over the years, other cervecerias would try and set up shop only to fail due to the many challenges, including having to import hops and barley. Enter the late 1800s, a time when many of the Mexican beers we know today were established by Swiss and German immigrants for the most part. Cervecera Toluca y Mexico was the first to crack the nut of being able to produce at an industrial scale. You also had La Estrella Jalisco, founded in 1900, Cervecería Cuauhtémoc, founded in 1890, and Cervecería del Pacifico, founded 1900, all of which started around the same time and exist today. Toluca y Mexico, producing the beer named Victoria, was started by a Swiss-German gentleman and later purchased by another Swiss-German chap, guy you see here, Santiago Graf. He employed the help of Germans for machinery, chemistry, and beer production staff, as they had to work the German machines, only they knew how. La Estrella Jalisco was founded by Juan y Orchner, born in what was then the Kingdom of Prussia, but essentially part of the German Empire. Cervecería Cuauhtémoc Brewery was founded in Monterrey. Now, this was an exception at the time, as it was founded by a few Mexican people, including a Mexican family with the last name of Muguerza, but they also had a German partner, a brewmaster named Joseph Schneider. Lastly, Cervecería del Pacifico was founded by a team of Germans and German Mexicans. You had Jorge Clausen, Hermann Evers, Emilio Filippi, Cesar Bochlin, Federico Marburg, and Jacob Schuele, all who started Cervecería del Pacifico in Mazatlan, Sinaloa. I want to focus on the Swiss gentleman Santiago Graf. In 1880, he pioneered the Graf-style Vienna lager, two styles still popular today in the American Southwest and in Mexico, i.e. Dos Equis Amber, one of my favorites. Graf purchased a small brewery in 1875 that was, at the time, producing a light ale called Cerveza Sencilla, or simple beer, from a fellow Swiss-German man named Augustin Marandaz. Mexico's hot climate created problems with temperature control, and Graf was forced to continue producing ale, which was not his preference. However, as the international railroad link with the US opened, he was able to import a large ice-producing and absorption machine in 1882 from, guess who? Germany. Once he had the machine and was able to cool yeast is needed to produce lagers, he was finally able to produce the then elusive dark lager.
I am your father.
He was the first to produce and sell a lager beer brewed in Mexico. It proved very popular, and in 1890 he realized he needed to scale his business, and he needed more capital. Enter a number of wealthy Germans and bankers from Mexico City. They invested 500,000 pesos, a ridiculous amount of money at the time. This allowed him to create the first large modern lager beer brewery in the Republic of Mexico. Further, Mexico had begun producing barley, realizing it couldn't continue relying on expensive imports, and the first lager Graf brought to market was made with Mexican barley. The reason Graf's story is critical to the Mexican beer industry and its history is that he was a trailblazer. He was one of the first to set up large-scale production, and many other Mexican beers that still exist today were set up, again, mostly by Germans, with the exception of Cuauhtémoc, at least 10 or more years after Mr. Graf's Cervecería Toluca y Mexico. Today, Mexico is starting to get into the competitive craft beer scene. In fact, the Mexican beer Charro Pilsner placed third in the 2020 World Beer Awards, an international competition that recognizes the best beers in each beer style globally. Charro Pilsner is described as having a clear golden color with a floral scent and notes of cereal, light honey, and graham cracker. Interesting. You may want to try it out the next time you're in Mexico. All right, amigos, I'm going to leave this here. I hope you found this information interesting, and I hope you learned something new. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing. Hasta la próxima. See you next time. Bye.